There you go. We are on.
We're on? You
We're
sure?
on.
Because it says off air.
It says live broadcast for me.
Oh, there it goes. All right. Well then, with that impromptu welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, to InfoVox. And after a nice little bit of a hiatus, we have decided to come back stronger than ever. And today we are brought to you by the letter Strength for all your magical needs. All right, so Amy, would you like to take us to the topic of the day?
All right. Well, guys, yeah, so I figured, we should just kind of jump in randomly and discuss chaos magic, where it's at. It's changed quite a bit in the past 3 years as far as a culture, and where we see it going and what's coming next for occult, or what kind of changes are happening in the scene. Basically, let's gossip about everything. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, what do you guys think? Does anybody jump right in?
I think it's a huge piece of shit, as always, and then that's basically the case, and it's still just...
I am pro-scub.
You're what?
Totally pro-scub.
Pro-scub. So chaos magic is a huge shit, as always.
Yep. That is the way of things.
I mean, I think of it like there's a lot of shit in the current at the moment, but at the same time, I'm sure Dave or maybe Jason can answer this. When was the internet invented? It was what, less than 30 years ago still, I think?
Yeah.
The internet?
Before, AOL, everybody's only had internet in their home for 20 years now?
Yeah,
it's really only now, Wi-Fi's just picked up with... I didn't have internet until I was 18. I think the problem is...
You cut out for a minute there, boss.
I mean, I think the problem is that, we're facing, globalization's a thing, the internet's now a thing, more people than ever before are talking to each other on a global level, and you're talking about magic, which was, most of these systems were invented pre-internet, and they still have the whole, initiation in person, you don't talk about it, secret handshake, that's still a big part of a lot of occult practices, even if, people aren't doing them now, you can go back and read, anything on Thelema, anything on ceremonial magic, they still talk about, shutting the fuck up and not talking to uninitiated people about magic. And yeah. I think that's a growing pain that, the cult is going through right now, is how to deal with the fact that, the last 100 years of occult research say, you keep this shit to yourself, and yet now, everybody knows what I had for breakfast because I, fucking tweeted it while I was taking a shit this morning.
So there's a global paradigm clash basically from the idea of keeping occulted and open information and discussing it publicly and whatever. So that's I don't know though. It's been an interesting ride to interact with people through the chaos magic world, and that's where I met all you fuckers. So I don't know. It just seems that I see kind of diverging off into the real art focus, art heavy side of things with chaos magic, where the creation is art, and kind of taking the more spare approach, where if I make something, it's magic. But and I like that approach, but in my head, occult practice is more than just making a drawing and making it magic. There has to be more training of the mind. Am I sure? No, but I know that for myself, meditation is essential. practice is essential. Like if I don't practice, then I just like fall off my game. Like it's just one of those things. And so like I think there's a real big I see a real big divergence there between the people that just kind of want to do magic and be magic and thoughts are creation and blah blah blah, and then the people that like want to have a serious practice and they devote themselves to certain like exercises and that sort of thing. And like I haven't really ever broken it down. I don't know, like I can't say like who's more successful, but I definitely see that being a big divergence like within the chaos magic itself. Like that's a big thing there, because then people feel like they're being like their practice is like being devalidated somehow if they don't do like regular exercises and stuff. But like I don't know, maybe it's just a different approach, or maybe it's just like a different focus of mind. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think David should respond specifically about occultforums.org and how everything got all fucked up and live journal and so on before that. I mean,
You think I should respond to that?
I would love you to. I mean,
Well, when I got into it, it was back in like 2003 or something like that, somewhere around there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know.
That's a long ass time ago, Dave.
Really?
Oh, motherfucker.
I
was
kind of figured it'd be young. But when I got in, that was when I was introduced to cult forums from a friend who's long gone right now. But I kind of like developed my own thing. He said that I'd be good at ceremonial, so I kind of explored that. Went into chaos magic as well, and read up on the classics, Peter Carroll and Donald Michael Craig and so forth. But I also took from what everybody else was there with, and that's kind of how I hopped onto the DKMU train and all that stuff. Well, Marauders first, but then that's a whole history in itself. But
yeah.
Basically, through the internet, I kind of wove my own practice, and that's kind of what I think is going to wind up happening, if not already happening, is that people will find things that they like and things that they don't like. They'll excise the things that they don't necessarily like, hopefully within reason, but I don't expect that to always be the case. And keep the things that they do like and build their own practices and workings through that. Like me, I work with voodoo, ceremonial, Enochian, things like that. That's my primary thing, is those things.
Yeah.
So I don't expect everybody to do the same things that I do. It's just that all the information that's out there, I found through either finding the books, finding internet sources, talking to people who are online who I can talk to now, even though back then I probably would not have been able to reach them as easily. So I think that even with like the biggest top secrets in the whole wide world of Super Adeptus Minor 69 degree Zephyr, Alistair, Happy Crowley, that those degrees will even be exposed to the internet at some point, because the internet, I don't think, is just like a creation or a set of tubes, but it's become a force in the world.
Well, that's also the idea of just of open information.
Yeah, it's open information. I think in itself it's become a force because of that. I think at this point it's just part of nature in a way, and it's an inevitability. And I think through that, everybody will eventually develop their own thing, and because of those things, maybe something new will come of that, and maybe everybody will get to share that with one another.
See, what I find really interesting is that it doesn't only just it's going to create a major separation, because you can have open information, But like there is a saying, knowledge shared is knowledge lost, and you're going to have a real need for people are going to have a real need to really diverge back into practice, like go back into actual experience. Like you can read all the levers of all the grades that you want, but if you don't actually have some of these experiences for yourself, you're not going to really get it. Like you're not. Like you just, some things you can't get by reading. You have to have that epiphany moment, that realization, that gnosis. But also, on another topic, interesting product of internet culture. I'm here playing with my Chaos Magic tarot deck, because all of the artists that contributed to the deck got a free deck, so I got mine in the mail. And so this is the card that
Yeah.
the strength card from the Chaos Magic deck.
Nice.
That's a card of this, apparently, of this thing. And then this is the one that I painted on there. So that's cool.
Very nice.
But, stuff like that happens, which is kind of neat because now it's a physical, tangible thing. And it's interesting to me because every single one of you I've spent time with. Like, not just like a couple hours, like I've spent days with and had trips with and like hung out with and like spent weekends with, like every single one of you here. Like, and it wouldn't have happened without that connectivity of not only the internet, but also like the subgenre of chaos magic, which is really interesting because it's probably not a place that I would recommend people go and like meet random friends and then like fly across the country to meet them. But that's what I did. So, and I have no complaints on any end of it. But I think that people are getting back to idiosyncratic takes on magic, and I think it's going to put a stronger need or emphasis on, personal discernment, personal self-mastery. You're really going to have to challenge and check yourself to make sure you're not just being delusional. So that's going to be, I think, really big, is just personal development overall, outside of the sphere of occult, just like in life itself. Because if you can't check your shit, then you can't like really know if you're doing good at magic. Like you can't. You can go crazy and think you're doing good. Like some days I'm the empress of the universe, like, and you can fight me on that shit, but you're wrong. But I know that's also delusional. But it depends on the day, and it works when you work it.
Yeah. Again, we thought we were doing good on Bacon Space, like turning it into a god form, and then that's actually how I met you, and then. That's why I mentioned occultforums.org and stuff. I mean, where did we go wrong, or how could we have done better? I mean,
I don't think you could have done anything different, man. I think it's natural evolution of websites. But I mean, now
I hope so. I mean,
what can you call it? Because Amy was touching on a little bit. I think it's the Model 6. Was the idea or the concept of like a fully idiosyncratic user-made pantheon? Like you are like they had begun to like before Listy left and Spears disappeared. I do believe that's what him and a couple other people were starting to experiment with, was like the next step from like playing around with your own gods and the chaos magic like back.
Yeah, that's what that.
They were about to take like the next step. Making their own paradigm completely. I think that's what CEO was touching on, or at least tried to.
They started that. They started trying to make a model of how to model your own paradigm, starting with like the basis of self mastery, like the dream work and like the fucking diet and exercise shit, like the circle 1 and 0 and all that. So like, and it was a decent model. It never fully fleshed out, and maybe sometime in the future it still will, but. I don't know. For me, like I've noticed, like you're breaking up a little bit, Boz. You're completely broken.
I mean, I just think, like you said, I think everybody's going to go fully idiosyncratic. I think it's going to be Like everybody, like I think that's where you're going to see a lot of magicians moving to, is making up their own systems. And I mean, if the only problem with that is if you don't write it down or share it, and I mean, because like you said, you're going to come to that point where you can't. There's things you're just not going to be able to put in words. But if we're all exploring our own stuff that intently, if it's not shared at some point, then you're going to see another splintering of the occult community, because everybody's going to have these ideas and stuff, and nobody's going to be talking about them anymore because they're going to be self-initiated into their own stuff. You got to find the
Yeah.
I think there's a middle ground between like delving into your own mysteries, but like some of my stuff, I'm still trying to figure out like how to even begin to show it off to the public, and so to say, or like how to share it with like you guys, because it's like an in joke within an in joke within an in joke type style of like thinking at this point.
Yeah.
Like it have to be right, like tons of like correlations that I've had on my own and correspondences and stuff. And I know that would turn off a lot of regular ass people who do magic on the weekends because they need help in life. Like what's the derogatory term? Like crisis magician, or like everyday magician, everyday occultist is not going to write the book of the law, their own book of the law. Like they're not going to do it. They may have like a memoir with their working notes and stuff, but I don't think they're going to have anything detailed enough to share. That's where you're going to run into a problem with idiosyncratic magic. Is that
Yeah, it's not going to have a base of conversation.
I think we
them can
can
understand
it anyways. I mean,
But then, and that's where you're going to have like the rise of cults. Like cults are going to pick up in popularity. Like you're already kind of seeing that with like the EA co-editing shit. Like people like jumped on that bandwagon so hard, and his shit's just like some idiosyncratic ripoff of some other shit. It's like, and I'm not even like here to talk shit. Not even to talk shit about him.
they're mad because their YouTube channel.
No, but not even talking shit about him or his work. But what I'm saying is you have that like immediate like opening for people to like basically like become like living gods and like have these cults with like all these members on their forums following their idiosyncratic shit. Like it's kind of bizarre.
Like,
it happens.
We used back there in Rome.
You're breaking up a little bit again.
I said like mystery, like the old mystery like traditions and mystery cults they had back in Greco-Roman times and stuff.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool to go back to that, because then you could like, I don't know. It's just
we might should revert. I mean, to be fair, because nothing else has worked so far, and we have all sorts of idiots, and we have all sorts of people. They're not really responsible for themselves, and they even feel like they're not responsible for their actions at this point, and it's kind of a crazy situation when, like, you consider the 156 or, like, just a cult in general. I mean, it's kind of like a shit show. I mean,
it's definitely that. But it's like that's kind of growing pains, and it's where we're at. And I think all of us, like, at least like all of us, like people that are either older or have been around for a while, where the excitement of cognitive dissonance initially happens when someone encounters chaos magic for the first time. When that wears off, like it's like, okay, now what? And we all do our own thing. We all kind of have and explore different paradigms. But I think overall, we're seeing a lot like where Boz says people are going their own way, but not necessarily publishing stuff. Like I know some of my personal stuff is fucking out there, and I've shared some of it with each one of you. So like what I mean. But like to how to translate my personal worldview so it doesn't sound so crazy.
yeah.
And like,
might not be a way or a platform yet. I guess.
There might not be. And like I was saying the other day in chat, I was like, I'm delusional, but I kind of like it this way, because I'm not delusional in the sense that I don't know what's going on around me. It's just I'm delusional in the sense that I choose to take a different perspective, and then slowly my life starts to morph and become in line with that perspective. So it's just like, if I just, when it comes to magic, nothing is too out there in the moment. You know what I mean? It's just to have that ability to pull back and discern what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're living, if you're living in accordance with this gnosis, how is it affecting your actual life? Like, are you still able to function? Because, you know, we've all had those periods of, like, intense gnosis where, like, you know, you don't sleep for weeks and you stay up, like, you know, reading grimoires or writing stuff or, like, invoking archangels or whatever it is that you're doing that's flipping your shit at the moment. Like, we've all had that. We've all had those periods. And so it's like, once you have some of these experiences, you almost, you feel sometimes directionless if you're not part of something else. And I think people, when they feel that way, that's when they start to lash out at the groups and stuff, and, like, because they're not getting what they inherently want, which is direction. But, you know, for me, I just kind of immerse in whatever presents itself to me in some sort of weird way with synchronicity or coincidence, or what seems fun. Like, I had all kinds of crazy, like, fae magic experiences last summer, and I never in a million years would be somebody that you would think would be into fae magic. Like, I used to talk so much shit all the time, but, like, oh, wearing, you know, like, spandex and fairy wings.
Probably, yeah.
You know, and then, and, like, one time I was out there, and, like, I was actually on KO, and I was, like, sending live updates. I'm like, I just ran into a bear, like, just, you know, just crazy, like, just real experiences in that paradigm that I never would have necessarily chosen. It just kind of showed up, emerged. I don't know. I guess that's what happens when you play outside. Like, outside paradigms become, like, lodged into your brain, and then they start to come out.
Yeah. Morgan, what
Yeah, we people go outside more, I think, in general.
What?
It's good for you.
I'm playing with the fairies right now.
outside? Sorry.
I can't hear you at all, Morgan.
Yeah. I can't hear the audio, but I can see.
Can you hear me?
That?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
So yeah, that's that's my rant, I guess. I'm getting more into back into, like, my roots. Like, remember when you guys first met me, and I just, like, we're like, oh, I just play with rocks, and I, like, put spells on rocks, and I put them in a basket, and I forget what they all do, and they're like, that's what a sigil is, Amy. You have to learn how to draw that now.
That's not.
That's how.
Sorry,
I
we
met
did
you.
that, but you were all
Rage on Tiamat.
awesome.
Wait, what happened? I didn't hear what Boz said. He was calling me Tiamat again. When I first met Jason,
That's not what you were doing when I met you.
When I first met Jason and Dave, actually, around the same time on PS, in Orm, I didn't know what chaos magic was, and so they were talking to me, and I was like, well, I put spells on rocks, and I take a rock and I hold it, and I make it, like, you know, magic, and I make it like a magic spell, and then I put it in a basket, and I got a bunch of baskets, and I got a bunch of rocks in this basket, but I don't remember what they all do, but I know it's, like, my magic rock basket, and they're like, that's what a sigil is. Like, that's how they explained what sigils were to me, was telling me that my rocks were sigils, and so I just had to learn how to draw them, and that was how I learned about chaos. That's how I learned about chaos magic on paganspace.net. That's how I learned about chaos magic. I'd never heard of it before then.
You met Octrain Knight too, quote unquote, which is Lord Dan or Lord Daffy, whatever you want to call him. Yeah.
Yeah, I met a lot. I don't know. It was a bunch of you guys.
Thing back then, but I mean,
And
that's
Seth.
originally why I asked about it. But yeah, you met Dan on Pagan Space too.
Of course. Fucking
Space.
that guy. Oh, Pagan Space.
Dave, how long do you think till we have the eventual, like, Luddite resurgence in paganism, where they're, like, way anti-technology because of of like the emergence of like every postmodern person like dabbling in techno magic now. Like I imagine we're only like 10 years out of like fucking back to nature, like as a resurgence.
That's where I'm going, man.
Like a resurgence back to full-on nature?
Hmm.
Well, it's going to be an equal and opposite reaction,
Yeah,
right?
like, I'm exactly.
I mean,
Yeah, I think once it hits a certain point, it's just going to be something that bounces back, and people will just be like, nature, I like trees, and rolling in leaves.
Yeah,
Spirits.
in the most literal sense of what you just said too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it will roll back. I mean, we have all sorts of flip-flop politicians. We have all sorts of flip-flop elite leaders. I mean, it's kind of the same shit everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
the same
but
fractal pattern.
unlike nature, no one likes to talk about politics.
no, I'm not about to talk about politics. But I'll say it's the same thing and just different flavors, I guess. But they're all gonna flip-flop, and that's how they do it, and that's how they keep us in check. I mean,
The constant back and forth, articulating wildly, never get your ground. It's just a fractal pattern. You see it in all different layers of social systems. It's the same binary. The binary is like it's created naturally. It's also like sustained intentionally in some cases, I think.
same binary inside of a cult nowadays. I mean,
Yeah, but the thing is, people say that,
and produce nothing. I mean, they might produce something, but they're not doing us as good of a job as they should be. And obviously that's going to piss everybody off. I mean, we have like OTO versus the AA and like stupid shit like that. I mean,
oh, it's just like, but they're all just mad because they're dying. Like they're all like going away. Like all these, and the thing is it's like they're not doing it in a graceful way to where they could still have a meaningful impact. They're doing it in a way where they come across like bitches, kind of.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm mad because I'm dying, but I mean,
Well, yeah.
how are you going to prevent it? I mean,
well, that's the thing. You can't on some levels, but like the thing is, I firmly believe that like the occult keeps itself occulted when it comes to magic and it comes to actual occult knowledge and secrets. It keeps itself occulted from any amount of reading, and you have to actually immerse and you have to experience. And if you don't, then you don't know. You're just parroting somebody else's gnosis that you don't understand in any way, shape, or form. So all these systems that were set up, and some of them very intelligently set up as a way to sort of map you through different exercises and different ways of perspectives of looking at the world and different ways of mastering yourself through, yoga, breathing, or ritual, or, invocation, or whatever it might be. Like, these things were set up to help create magicians, to help cultivate magicians. But instead, what we're seeing is, and what we always see when you find something useful, is there's a religion created around it, and the dogma becomes far more prevalent than the actual work that will teach you any of the secrets or actually, help you navigate through some of the mysteries. So, all this stupid social bullshit between all these orders and everything else, it's just growing pains because we're in a changing world. But at the end of the day, unless you really do, not to sound like a fucking, like I'm lecturing, but unless you like really do the work or have the experiences, you can't know. Like, you just can't. And whether that be based on a framework of somebody else's esoteric system, or it be based on your own idiosyncratic framework, you have to have the experiences to be able to even like make it worth your while. I think, without that, then like, what's the point? Without growth and knowledge and personal evolution, what's the point of any of this? It's just like a circle jerk. Otherwise, basically, like a mimetic circle jerk of like, it feels good and it's fun for the moment, like, but there's no progression. Like, that's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Morgan, I think your mic is off because I can't hear anything you say. By the way.
Huh?
Are you talking to
her
Morgan?
mic's not off. She's just enjoying it.
I don't know if she knows that. Your mic's not on. I don't know if you know that.
No. Like,
Can you
she's
hear
always
me?
on. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey. All
You
right.
can
Yeah. I just haven't been. You can't hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay.
She's just enjoying the conversation.
I'm just enjoying the conversation on my stroll.
Yeah. But
It's my nice bedtime story.
Yeah, I can't hear her, but
I can't hear her either.
so,
I'm the only one that can hear her.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, it just seems like
I'm like a deity now. Only
What
you
do you
can hear
do?
me.
Oh, I'm crazy. Oh well, I'll enjoy it. Anyway, I agree with you, Amy, for pretty much. Like you said earlier, you can read and all that stuff all you want to, but unless you experience it, it's not going to get anywhere. And I think that even if you do read it, like experiencing is different because you might have a completely different experience. You might not get the same message or whatever experience that the person who wrote the stuff down had.
Right.
So it's worth it to check it out for yourself. And at the very least, you'd be like, yeah, myth confirmed, or you'd be like, well, I got this instead, and it was for me. It was special for me because I'm a special snowflake.
That's pretty much how I approach most magic. It's just for me because I'm special.
yeah.
But it's nice to be able to have a baseline to communicate with others, and that's why some of these systems are really valuable because it allows you to do that. It allows you to have that communication with others. Like even like for me, I do a lot of my communication through like the idea of planetary spirits or spirits in nature, because that personification of information forms is like a good way to have conversations with people about them, about the experiences, and to explain to them. It doesn't necessarily mean that like the language I use sums up my view on how things work or the functionality of magic, but sometimes it's just easier to say tree spirit because that's what it is. Like it's a tree spirit. Like you want to get into like what that actually means and what I actually think that means. That's two different conversations completely. But I think that classical like language and magic might start coming around to be more important because people are going to lack that tie-in between their personal idiosyncratic practices and conversations with other people, because we're social animals whether we like it or not. Like we like to try to be like, oh, I'm so introverted and I hate people, blah blah blah, but here we are on like a Google Hangouts chat. Like we're social animals, whether even if we don't want to be. Like, so we want to be able to talk about things that are important to us. And if you practice magic or you're an occultist, and even if you don't practice magic and you're occultist and you're into it for the philosophy and the ideas, you still want to communicate like anything that important that you find or fascinating that you find. You still want to talk about it and explore it more through the perspective mirrors of other people. So the social lexicon of any given like group is really important to try to understand so that you can have those conversations.
Yeah, like Dave, like for one, like gave me influence to get into the Enochian stuff, and traditionally, like I'm all into the Goetics and everything. So it does play a part inside of our lives, like how we are idiosyncratic and just we're almost like retarded human beings, or how you somebody else. I mean,
I'll fully admit I am a retard.
A
I
retard.
do derpy
Yeah,
things
same
all
here.
day long.
Well,
so
don't be
You. I mean,
I'm glad that we're having this very honest moment how we're all retarded, but I would say that don't be retarded, get re-smarted, and like use your magic to help you grow.
yeah.
Don't be retarded, get re-smarted. I like that. That's the slogan for the day. Don't be retarded, get re-smarted. It's 2016.
I'm doing the thing that they do on the white people meme, where they hold the cup of warm tea in two hands and go. So I guess that's it. Anybody else feel like ranting? We can go offline and still talk for a while if you want, but that seems to be the summarization, and we seem to be all agreeing that the personal paradigm is going to reign supreme. We're basically all retarded because we can't communicate past our own personal paradigms. So the social lexicon of a culture is going to become more important and prevalent. And so our planning instincts and our tribalization instincts are not going to be based on belief as much as it's going to be based upon shared memes. So it was a good, interesting talk.
I like it.
Yeah, and then again, the only thing I want to say is much respect to ceremonial magic versus all this other shit. Because, I mean, I know what brought us all here together, but I know what works. And, no, I don't really specifically know what works, but I mean...
Well, you know what? Ceremonial magic does work. And a lot of my bigger rites and rituals have been very ceremonial, especially my planetary work and those sorts of things. And the few Enochian scrying adventures I've had with actually two of you guys have been out of this fucking world, crazy, incredible. Angels are dicks, but it was still a very real,
Maybe
subtle.
to you.
They are. They're kind of dicks. They kind of like, and they hang around afterwards, and they like show up in your dreams and stuff, and like it's kind of rude. Like I don't know.
Not to me, but we'll talk about that some other time.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
They're not dicks to me either. I mean,
I don't know.
It's the Goetia, but I mean, so.
All right, I'm gonna stop the broadcast now. We can talk after. Bye.
Have fun.